And next, I would like to welcome Alesandar Jevremovic. Alexander has been representing Serbia at the UNESCO International Federation for Information Processing since 2018, holding the position of a full professor at Singidon University in Belgrade, Serbia. Professor Jevremovic is also a guest lecturer at Harvard University and external consultant at the American Public University System in the USA and an accomplished researcher. Professor Jevremovic is a member of professional organizations such as IEEE and Informatics Association of Serbia, and actively contributes to research and training in the realm of human-computer interaction. He will present as his talk titled AI in HCI to Serve and Protect.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for introduction. Perfect. So this is the presentation I will give today, and I'm really happy because of this illustration here. I asked my colleague Alexander Mihailovic to illustrate that one. I think this one represents what this actually is all about. And another thing that is important for me is that I see some familiar faces here, especially some of my students, ex-students that are probably more familiar with this field and now better experts than I am. So my question to myself was, what is my, what am I doing today? What should I do now? What should I talk about? What is my responsibility? And this is actually what this talk is all about. What is our responsibility and what AI can do about this in current times. So I created this as a first slide, and I think most of you will recognize all of these items. And this is actually a context or framework that I will use for my speech. This is actually a speech that evolved from my previous two speeches. One was on the celebration of 50 years of Informatics Society in Serbia a few months ago, and another one, evolved version, happened last month on TELSIX 2023 IEEE conference. But the main background about this one is the problem I'm dealing with in the last, let's say, 4 to 5 years, and it evolved and resulted as two next generation internet projects that were based on, that were focused on protecting vulnerable users on the internet. And the last one is actually one we submitted last month. It is supported by 63 researchers from 36 countries, from Europe and Israel. And that one is, project is focused on exactly on this topic, how to use AI to actually protect humans. Or should we protect us, or is it AI dangerous or not, or what should we do about it? So there is a lot of publicity about AI, and my students know that when I warn them about media, that actually they can get very wrong impression about what is going on, what is happening, if they trust media. For example, there is a very popular topic, not now, but let's say 4 to 5 years ago, NoSQL databases were a buzzword, and then I heard many times that NoSQL is the next generation of databases, that SQL databases are dead, which is actually wrong. This is just something that media will talk about. And then I spent, let's say, for my 20s to 30s, I read books that will help me to improve my self-confidence, but let's say in the last 10 years, I'm reading mostly books that help me to destroy my self-confidence, because it is mostly based on wrong impressions, on biases, on fallacies, etc. So we now see a lot of talk about AI, and this is something that is very popular, and this is something that everyone is talking about, and you see some great solution, you see some great applications. But then when you dig below the surface, many times you see that this is really not intelligent solution. There is a very primitive approach, or even when there are some great AI solutions in that domain, they were not applied correctly, etc., etc. So now one thing that I actually am. There is a nice theater at London. They played 1984, And I visited that show a few times. They were masters. They create very, very interesting atmosphere that really created impression that something terrible is happening to you. And now we almost can feel that in our reality, that it looks like that something very important is about to happen, that we are losing pace, that we will late somewhere. And also this is used to create very wrong impressions in publicity about AI. And now you see many times texts that actually warn us about how dangerous AI is. And then, actually, of course, there are some dangers, real dangers from real threats from AI, but most times you will not see these. You will see some very wrong representations. And actually, it is very easy when you have some common opinion, when you create some common opinion about something, to actually introduce a new view that could be completely wrong. And this is not. This is something about humans that is rooted deeply in our psychology, that we are afraid of something that we do not know what it is, that is unknown to us. And then, more than 50 years ago, we had these first video games, and when there is you have a great philosopher works about risk and game and life, and how you cannot actually live without introducing any risk, and our life can be considered as a game. But then there is a possibility to lose that game, which is very frightening to us. And another important thing is that you can lose a game from something that you do not understand what it is. You can lose the game from something that is not human. And this is something that's pretty terrifying. And then we had some great movies. The most familiar, the most popular one is probably The Terminator, where you have this robot that is very powerful, almost indestructible, and that one it is an intelligence. But that actually, you see that, you see two things. You see the first, you have different versions of this movie, and in some this robots and artificial intelligence is about to kill us, but also you had another option. There is an artificial intelligence to help us to survive, to defend us from this one. Then later you have some other great movies that you can see some different approaches that can actually, there is one question I typically ask my students, what humans can do and computers cannot, and the first association is always about emotions. This is a great movie, Ex Machina, that you can see that actually emotions could be modeled very, very well. But you cannot, the computers actually cannot think of a random number, which is the most terrifying thing that can actually happen to someone, including them. And then you started seeing some great movies. This one is very good because you have a completely opposite view, where you see humans as parasites that will destroy nature, and then you see this artificial intelligence as something that is about to save us, not only to save us, but this is exactly the next step in this evolution, something that will take over and continue this development or something. Also, there is a slide included from 1979 from IBM presentation, where you cannot actually count on AI to make decisions, but actually we do that. We do that a lot. I collaborated intensively last month with a colleague from Spain. She's an expert in law and law related to AI. And this is something that actually always needs to be taken in account, that you cannot never consider any machine to be responsible for anything. You always consider that there is a human behind that actually can do something. So this is the main threat from AI, that there are humans behind that are now extremely powerful because they use artificial intelligence, not that there is artificial intelligence that is evil. Of course, there are some philosophical work that say something completely different, that evil, if there is no consciousness, then evil is possible, the opposite is not. But actually, practically, we can consider this as our reality, that if there are humans and bad intentions behind AI, and intentions are, I had a nice chat yesterday with ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT, can you look behind? Can you see your infrastructure? Can you see computers that you're being executed on? And it says, no, I cannot do that. I actually am limited just to use this data and talk to you, and that's all I can see. But now the thing is that we have this cave, popular illustration from philosophy, that we have a cave, that something real is happening outside, and then it is presented to us, and we create very, very false impressions. We create very, very false imaginations of what the world is really like, and we live in a very, very virtual and very irrational image of the reality. I also like this movie a lot because this movie represents our society. I think this is the best movie about this region and our society and how we are exposed to some information. But this is something exactly, so these people were very brave, and they had some qualities that were in this underground, but then they got very wrong and false informations, and they create very wrong image of the reality outside of their basement. So they went out and they made many, many problems. This is exactly what we are now doing with artificial intelligence. We are actually explaining to AI what the real world is like, and then we expect from AI to serve our best interest based on these representations. So all these are actually some that can position what am I talking about. And finally, this movie is great because this is actually a movie about our greatest enemy. So our greatest enemy is probably in us, because we consider ourselves to be very strong, and then we can make decisions and everything else. But in reality, there is something in us that can be easily manipulated, that can make decisions without us even knowing about it. And this is something that is attacked these days by AI and these solutions. Before I came here, I got a call from our telecom company, and they offered me a great free IPTV for next 24 months. And I said, Lee, please, you have a wrong guy on the line, because I don't have TV for the last 30 years, and I really do not want to even if it is free, even if you pay me, I will not do that. And she said, why? I said, well, it's about mental hygiene. I do not want to be exposed to this content, because I think Seneca said that we are very restrictive about who we or what we will let to touch our bodies, but we are very permissive about touching our brains and our minds. This is one company that I really like about their approach about AI. I think it's Inner Eye is their name. It's an Israeli company, and I think now they are owned by Microsoft. What they do is they use this transparent approach about teaching AI, making it learn what it should do. They use this at the airports, where you have EEGs, electroencephalography devices, that will record our brain waves, and not our, but these people that check our luggage. And if they will actually, it has image, it has our brain waves, and it will try to make these two connection between these two, so automatically recognize if there, to be able to recognize if there is something dangerous in some luggage based on humans' brain signals. So I think this is very intrusive way that goes deeply in our brains, and you can see, you can imagine many apocalyptic and very pessimistic scenarios about this one. So you already have these devices that you will have to wear when you are at your workplace, and then your supervisor can say, okay, your results are numerically correct, but you do not put enough effort. I see that you are really not suffering enough, or something like that. And you have this, I think this is the most objective TV show, pessimistic TV show. You know this one, it's Black Mirror, right? You've probably seen most of this. And then there are some nice applications of AI, but what I presented at L6 was, especially at this event. This event happened, unfortunately, a few months after we had this first mass shooting in our schools. And what I warned about in this talk was, if you haven't read this book, Autobiography of Richard Feynman, I strongly advise you to do so. In this book, you see that this is one of the most informed people about nuclear powers, and he was directly exposed to the first nuclear detonation when they tested it in some desert in the United States. he was there and he directly saw what was going on. I also you had Mariah Carey, for example. She was also the most informed person about radiation and radioactivity in the world at that time, but she died because of cancer, because she was holding, I think, was radium next to her night's table because it was glowing nice in the dark, and she was carrying radium in her coat. So something completely unsafe and extremely dangerous, but she was not informed, even if she was the best informed person in the world about that topic. Also, this movie is very important. Cable Guy from Jim Carrey plays the main role, because you can see a human that was actually, while growing, it was only exposed to TV shows. So there was no human contact between him and other people. So he created, like with this cave, he created his representation of the reality based on what he was able to see on the TV. And this book is not that great, but I like an example. This lady, Rachel Botsman, she wrote about, she tried to make a decision who you can trust. So, but her history was that as a child, she was babysitted by a girl that actually was a member of terroristic organization. So her parents were at their workplace and during the day, and then that girl took her to these terroristic actions with herself. And then she was questioning how her mother decided that she can trust that girl, so it could have some terrible consequences. This is the one project that we finished 2 years ago. It was supposed to continue, but unfortunately, because of COVID and some pauses in the development, we postponed that until now, and now we expect it to grow in much bigger format. This one was founded by Next Generation Internet project, and the name was Casper, because it was supposed to be a good ghost or good ghost in the shell, whatever you prefer. The thing was that we can use AI actually to protect children from being exposed to content that is harmful for them. So the idea was that if we are able to decide what is harmful, what is not harmful, we can actually, and if we can do that by AI, we can actually real-time protect children. In this case, it was children, but then we expanded the project to other vulnerable group users, including elderly people, but the threats were different. So here, we mostly focused on the nudity and pornography, then on cyberbullying, then online predators and different kind of indoctrination. So these are real threats for younger children, but then it was extended to some other threats. I will show you the architecture in a few moments. It was extended to protect elderly people from fake news, from different kind of threats that are related, relevant to that population. We got great support for this project, Next Generation Internet. We had developers from, originally developers from 3 countries, but from Portugal, North Macedonia, and Serbia. But later, we got support from many national or international organizations, including our Ministry of Interior. So this, the problem with this one was, actually the idea was to create a something like semantic firewall that is actually able to decide if some content should reach you or not, like like a traditional firewall, but not based on technical aspects like what is the IP address or something like that, but on what is the content and what effect that content could have on target population or the receiver of that information. So it is impossible to develop something like that on lower levels, like IP, TCP operating system or there, because you have a lot of encryption, different protocol standards, etc. But if you do that on some higher level, if you do that on human-computer interaction level, then you can actually analyze content on in its final form, the form that is meant to be consumed by humans. So now, if you can explain to AI what kind of contents you do not want to reach end user and what kind of contents are safe so they can proceed, you can do that. This is the architecture we did. So we analyzed mostly this visual communication between humans and computers, including the output, what is displayed on the screen, but also input, because, for example, young children can be tricked to take photos of them and send to someone. So also that kind of information can be tracked and prevented to leave our computers. And then we analyzed audio. It was the very primitive approach, because we just did speech to text, and then we analyzed text because from these images, on these images, we applied OCR algorithms to extract text, and then this text was analyzed no matter if it comes being displayed or being played by using audio channels. And also we did some image processing, and then we classified that as safe or not safe for these are some of these modules that we developed. So for example, to detect nudity and porn. I'm not sure if we can play this video, but this is a pretty good illustration. This is how it works, the prototype we developed. It works that way that when you, this on the left side is the original session. On the right side is when we applied this software. So how it works. When something is sent to be displayed on the screen, this software analyzes if all regions, and then analyzes if there is something that is harmful that should not be displayed, and then it discovers a lot of nudity on these photos. So only photos that were not classified as dangerous for nudity were covered. So this is exactly to protect users from this content, how to actually prevent them being exposed. In some cases, it is not possible really to protect them that way, to prevent the exposure, because when you play audio, and at the end, eventually when you find out that audio is harmful, you cannot unplay the audio. It's already played. But then you can inform, for example, parents or someone else. That's why we had this collaboration with Ministry of Interior, because a next question was how to preserve digital evidences, because if there is a crime trying to be committed, like predator is approaching child, you want to save, or cyberbullying, you want to save that data. But there is another very dangerous option that can happen, is that we create software that really can select what we are allowed to see, what we are not allowed to see, and it can be controlled by some ministry or someone else who can then decide that we are not allowed to think about this thing. We had a talk about discrimination in the last speaker said about that. I remember when my colleague from the United States, I mentioned something about discrimination in context of logic and reasoning, not about any popular view of discrimination, and she said, no, discrimination is bad. No, discrimination is, we cannot think about discrimination, because if I cannot discriminate if this is a door or window, I can jump out through the window, so I need, no, discrimination bad, no talk, okay. Then it is very dangerous to create a tool for mass surveillance, and we have also very apocalyptic movies and art pieces about this one. So this is the project that we finished, and we had some good results with this prototypes, but now actually we had some problem with performances, of course, because it was prototype. When you use that on the mobile devices, it can exhaust your battery, etc., etc. But the prototype turned out to be really effective and really promising. So now we are focused on creating this semantic firewall that actually can analyze and classify content based from the aspect of human consumption. Is this harmful or not? Should I be exposed to this content or not? Because in many cases, you're not even able to decide for yourself should you be exposed to this content, because it can be fake news, and you can say, wow, this is happening now, but it's not. It's someone is trying to trick you, especially for some user groups, populations like younger children. They cannot decide about this one. I think this is I used all of my time, right? You know. So thank you. Okay. Thank you. You
Hi, hello. So you talked about the influence of media and how you explain to your students that they shouldn't listen to everything, like trust everything they see within media. So you can explain to a grown person on why they should challenge the stuff they hear. How would you explain, like talking about kids and Casper right now, how would you explain to kids today with media everywhere, they have peer pressure, they listen to everything that's on Facebook, Instagram, I don't know what's used right now, but how can you explain to your kids how to challenge what they hear? And what would you tell them, like, okay, use those, like TikTok, Instagram, but don't, like, use them properly? Or how would you teach them to, yeah.
As I said, this is one of my ex-students, and they are much smarter and better informed than me, so this is a difficult question. Of course, I don't know how to answer that question. If you think about it, probably you will never have a children, so I wasn't thinking too much, and I have 3 children, and I cannot explain this thing to them. And this was actually scratching my own itch, because my wife came to me a few years ago and she said, I give them some device to watch cartoons, but then some horrible pornographic ads show up on these websites, or they stumble upon something like this. Can you solve this one? And then I researched, and then I found that there is no technical solution. That's how we approach to this one. But actually, this is extremely difficult question, and I think if you answer that question, that there is it's 42 answer. Yes, that if you give answer like that, all the problems are solved. But until we reach that one, we are balancing between not using AI at all, or using AI too much, or all these solutions, and let them to create mass surveillance tools, or don't use it at all, and then being exposed, and being in this state that you think that you're really able to handle anything, that you cannot be infected by this content. But then you see, for example, there is a lot of pornography available online, and then the question is, what is the reason for that one? Because it is really expensive to host and serve that amount of pornography. Who is serving that one, and what is the intention behind something like that? Obviously, it is harmful for humans. Typically, humans think, okay, this is just fun for me, but actually, it is deeply. It can harm humans and damage them maybe for the rest of their lives. So I'm not sure that, no, I cannot answer that question, but I try to technically approach that one. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we have another question.
Mm-hmm. Hello, can you hear me? Yes. You said one big true and one fact when it comes to people in general, and that is the biggest enemy is in us. So what we should do for the future, because if we just leave it like this, then for later it will be really bad for, of course, AI and for us in general, because as I can see, we can change that. We are going to that worst part of that fact.
This is also a very hard, a very heavy question. I cannot answer that one, but actually my view of this is, for example, I think I'm very smart, I think I'm very disciplined, I think all the best about myself, but then when I start to meditate, I cannot control my brain, because there is that blabbering monkey they call, and it is trying to convince me that there are some much more important things I should do, that I should think about some problem that I cannot solve at that moment. So my brain is trying to do everything to convince me not to do that. Even if, because I know that I need I'm doing that because I want a mental discipline. I want to be able to really control myself, so later I will not make some decisions that I do not control. And then I cannot, of course, answer that question in general, but what I can say is that we have devices now. You have devices that you can use when you want to meditate. It can actually, EEG devices, it can scan your brain waves, and then it can play sounds. So if it notices that your brain is losing control, you're losing control of your thoughts, it can play some kinds of sounds that can remind you to go back to that one. So sounds very interesting, sounds very good, sounds very scary, because I do not want to be out of control, but also I do not want to be a Pavlov dog. I do not want to be controlled that way by AI or by some medical device. So I think there is a whole galaxy, whole universe aspects that we need to consider if we really want to develop something. Otherwise, we will end up thinking in a very specific direction, but that is something that happened before the World War II. There were many people thinking very intensively about very small set of topics, and they ended up with producing a lot of weapons. So this is, of course, it will not happen now, because I asked my colleagues from military, why are they changing these calibers of munition? And they said, we do not expect some grand wars, we expect some urban conflicts. Now it can be even internal, it can be conflicts within ourselves. So not very optimistic, but also not very pessimistic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Professor, for this amazing talk. I enjoyed really. We should continue. Let's do the time.